just 5 minutes. Imagine skipping long waits, crowded clinics, and repeated trips. These kiosks put speed, convenience, and care directly in your hands. No human doctor required. Here's how it works. You step in. Facial recognition and medical sensors check your vitals. Blood pressure, heart rate, temperature, oxygen levels. In minutes, AI analyzes the data and delivers a probable diagnosis. Then, it hands you your medicine instantly. No lines, no forms, no waiting. They're popping up in malls, transit hubs, and public squares, bringing fast, affordable healthcare to busy cities and even remote towns. AI isn't perfect. Rare diseases, complex cases, and mental health issues still need human. But for routine checkups and minor ailments, this is the future of medicine. Fast, frictionless, and at your convenience. So, would you trust a machine over a doctor?
Look at this. Now today, China has already come out with ATM machines, which means that like you're going and taking money from the ATM machines. If you fall sick, go to ATM machine, stand in front of that, and ATM does everything, and suddenly it dispenses medicine. There is no doctors. Now, we cannot beat China probably in fintech and health tech in recent times to come, but a lot of good things are happening, and that's the one AB, that Aadhaar card and UPI. So these two or these three ecosystems that we have, which is called India Stack, I think we have to put together and even universities have to come together and try to create this healthcare transformation trend happen in India also. As I said that I'm going to talk about strategy a little bit. To put everything together, I would describe the whole thing into 3 A's. Means the healthcare need to describe the whole thing into 3 A's. Means the healthcare need to be affordable, healthcare need to be accessible, and healthcare need to be available. Now, technology, but what about availability? How are we going to spread this? That means we'll have to see that how we can generate 24/7 virtual care, how we can generate self-care. Like for example, how many of you gone to bank in recent times? Nobody, because everything happens in your mobile. Can we make this happen for your own healthcare also? And that is where we'll have to think how the business models and how the technology trends has to come together. And I'm sure that this is a very long topic, but again, as we see in the previous presentation, there are a lot of technologies have come. And there is no one single technology make things, everything is going to be happening. It's going to be a culmination of all the technology. And AI is sitting on top of it. AI, in fact, if you ask me, it's not even a technology. If somebody asks me AI is a technology, it is not. It is actually a trend. Intelligence is an outcome. AI is an outcome. Now, how are we going to get the outcome? So that is where I think the engineering institutions, technology institutions have to come together. I'm not going to go through all the list. I'm sure you must be knowing about it. But technically what I see is that telehealth and remote care is going to be very important, and how it is going to be employed, how it is going to be deployed with AI. And most importantly, the cyber security around data. Most of the people asked how we are going to trust the data that we are going to put. Yes, of course, if you give a wrong data, AI is going to give the wrong data. But how are we going to make sure that the data input is collected right from the right sources, and how it is going to be safeguarded from every ecosystem players? And that is where cyber security is very important. If somebody asks me, what is the sexiest job in the future, is going to be data governance job. How we are going to safeguard our own personal data and as well as social data from outsiders who are going to take it. In nutshell, again, many of the previous speakers were talking about ecosystems. There is also another misnomer people don't understand properly. Every institution is a system by itself, right? A healthcare unit or a research unit, clinical laboratory, everybody is a system. But these systems need to operate together, and that is what is ecosystem. What is ecosystem? Many systems living together is what is ecosystem. Unfortunately, today, there are so many systems, very intelligent, very nice, but then when it comes to working together, there is a lot of lapses, and that is where I think, again, I'm trying to enunciate that the ecosystem need to be developed, and that is the job of everybody, it's not one single job. And of course, I will skip this already, I've spoken about this Ayushman Bharat digital mission, which is very good, but again, this is going to be one of the game changers, provided India is going to shape the healthcare economy completely. Today we are talking about healthcare tourism, sports tourism. These are all the new avenues that every company is trying to buy off. The place where I'm working there for the last 25 years, this UAE, we have got something called Ministry of AI. That is Ministry of AI by itself. And then Ministry of Possibilities. Of course, I do agree. Countries like UAE, which is very small, which has got little money, and they can make this happen. But it doesn't mean that country like India cannot make it happen, because we have got all the resources, and obviously there should be enough political will and as well as business cohesion between all the ecosystem players. So, how do we make it happen? What are the challenges? The main challenge, again, the previous speaker spoke about in HCL, is basically because we are not going to allow it to scale up. We make it happen simple, we can make it happen only within our own walls, then after it's not scaling up. Scaling up means it should be available for everybody. Scaling up means it should be available for everybody. Scope means it should be available, all the things will be available. That is where I think I am going to touch upon a little bit about business model. Today, businesses are not fighting on strategy. Today, businesses are fighting on business models. The Uber or maybe Airbnb, these are the bigger companies today, but now they don't have any assets because what they have is only information. So that means today's business models are more data rich and asset light. There is no assets. They don't keep any assets, physical assets. The information is their asset. So that means how we are going to put everything together as a good platform, that is what is the challenge for every business model players. To do that, I thought I will suggest a framework. It's not the framework that I'm going to suggest myself. It's spoken in enough forums, it's spoken in enough business missions. This is about 5 pillars of how digital transformation can happen, not only in healthcare, any place. And there, I would say that all we need is 5 things. The first is the digital infrastructure, which could be cloud, which could be Microsoft Azure, data center, so be it. And then what we need is the data. Because we have to put the data on top of the cloud, because that is what is the essence of it. What's happening is that 1, 2, 3 can be given by technology guys. But what technology people cannot give is 4 and 5, the patient experience and as well as ecosystem partnership. And that is where I think we'll have to, follow some of the success stories, be it USA, be it China, then we see that how people can collaborate and create the patient experience and as well as ecosystem partnerships. I've got some slides, but I'm going to skip it. But if you ask me digital infrastructure, I think we should focus on cloud-based hospitals. When we can have cloud kitchen, why not cloud hospitals? What I'm trying to say is that it's not that we don't have to go to hospital. We have to go to still hospital, but we'll have to restrict the touch points. We'll have to do that the self-care happens within our own mobile. All of you know is that you can live without anything but without mobile today, and that's how we have come to. So obviously, the mobiles, what we have in hand, it is going to be our own 2.0. The 2.0 is actually going to keep all the information about us, and that is where I think we'll have to generate cloud-based business models which can give you self-care portals. If I fall sick, I should be able to do everything. But today, what is happening is that we have got WhatsApp University, which is throwing up so much of unnecessary information. We think that we become our own doctors, but that's not going to happen in futures, right? So obviously, the digital infrastructure is very, very important, and the data interoperability and governance, right? And that's very important. Means how we are going to safeguard our own data. Today, a lot of standards have come. We only know about ISO 9000 and ISO 14000 and 27000. But there are data governance and AI governance models are available, standards are available. I think that should be part of the curriculums like Vinayaka mission, where they'll be able to generate the future generation, how we are going to prepare the AI agents and as well as how we are going to prepare people who are going to govern the AI agents. And third pillar is, this is all about automation and workflows. I'm sure that most of you have heard of it. Now we have gone from predictive AI to generative AI to agentic AI. So it means we have got a lot of agents which can be created and which can control the whole workflow. Obviously, it's not completely robot, and some of the industry engineering students may know what we will have in the future is something called cobot, that is collaborative robots. So that means every human being or every set of people will be having some amount of digital agentic AI there, which is going to replace them as a robot. So this is what is going to be in AI automation. I'm not going to be very pessimistic or optimistic about what's going to happen with AGI or ASI, but still we are very far ahead from getting into the ASI stage, but the agentic AIs are very reality. And these 3 things are coming from the digital side, but obviously, as I said, that what technology people cannot give is that how can we give that experience to the people, because we are in an experience economy. Every patient is a different patient. Today, if I ask me, it is not the time for the menu card. You can't have a menu card. Everybody should be treated separately. That is what famously we call it hyper-personalization. Every patient, every customer needs personalized treatment, and that can happen only when we get a lot of input from the people from all over the ecosystem, and that has to be put together. And that experience will create the fourth pillar. And lastly, obviously, as I mentioned again, this is the ecosystem partnership. So no one entity can do that. So obviously, we'll have to put all these 5 pillars together so that we can make a strategy, meaningful strategic digital transformation. As I spoke about business model, obviously, you will agree with me, we will not be able to create a very big company anymore. We'll have to create companies which is having smaller part of it. As you all know that in the last 15 years, do you know how many companies Google purchased? So obviously, all those bigger companies here, they are not going to grow organically, but they are going to grow inorganically. Means they will not create capabilities themselves. They will try to buy companies. Famously, we call it, if you can't beat it, eat it. So that's how it is going to happen. So small companies will come together, and that is very key for any scaling up. So that is where I think that if you do this, if you take these 5 pillars, and that is where you can increase the affordability, availability, and accessibility. I've given some examples. Here, and these are some of the examples. My suggestion would be, if you want to take a good takeaway from the conferences like this, try to go and see the use cases, right? Try to go and see what are the use cases by Kaiser, by Mayo Clinic, by Cleveland, by this Karolinska Institute. These are all the very famous world hospital chains or healthcare chains. They have spent millions and millions of money on the healthcare. And some of the tools and techniques and what benefit they've got, I've already listed here. Though I think you can always Google it and find out. But the amount of investment done by these kind of companies are huge. And mind you, they are all healthcare companies. They started small, but now they are trying to put all the money to make this availability, affordability, and accessibility together. And of course, India is not falling behind. India also, if you see Apollo Hospitals, Fortis, so these are the companies already tied up with technology majors, and they are trying to bring up complete digital transformation to their hospital ecosystem. Obviously, I can talk a lot about Seha, which is in UAE, and of course, King Faisal Hospital in KSA. So these are the companies where we have personal experience dealing with them and trying to see that how we can give those first 3 steps, that data infrastructure, digital infrastructure, and as well as cyber security. So these institutions are now translating those capabilities to create a very meaningful digital transformation. But again, all said and done, there are challenges, as I said. So what are the challenges in the future outlook? If you look at it, the regulatory things are going to be very, very important. It's not that, you have all the technology, you put everything together, and you can make a digital transformation happen. There are barriers, particularly the regulations, right? So the regulatory setup is not uniform everywhere. What we think is right is not right for somebody else. So obviously, we'll have to see how best we can put everything together, say probably like how we have a pan-India regulation for only dealing with medical data in hospitals. Obviously, the other countries have already done it. Singapore has done it, and many of the Western countries have done it, and obviously the Gulf countries have done it. And even in India also, there are a lot of regulations are coming up, but that has to be now streamlined, and that has to be complied in every part of the system. And the clinicians, obviously, there will be always resistance to change. When I showed this ATM example, obviously it is saying that there is no need for doctors, but this maybe the doctors won't like it. Obviously, everybody needs to exist, right? So there will be huge resistance to change. So how are we going to manage the change? How are you going to manage the regulatory pressure? And that is going to be very key if you want to, make the meaningful healthcare installation. But that will definitely work. But as I said before, we'll have to create interoperable systems, or the ecosystems have to be made. Whatever learning that you take it from this conference, probably you'll have to combine with other conferences, Amrita, whatever it is. So all these things need to be put together. So only when you put together, only when we try to have a collaborative ecosystem and then have a business models around it, it may happen, but whatever is going to happen will be delayed if you don't act fast. And that's it. And obviously, we'll have to start small and start fast. And that's a famous saying in entrepreneurship also. It's not about making a big success. It is making 1,000 failures so that at least you can make one grand success. So obviously, fail fast is a mantra, and all the entrepreneurship which is happening around and all the incubators, they'll have to start this healthcare experience as quickly as possible. The future looks bright, and as a takeaway, what I can say is that I'm sure that it is very hard to take everything from the 2 days conference, but I would recommend that there is ABCD, if you can remember that. A is sitting on the top, and then whatever AI capabilities, we'll have to do it as a business model. And the business models need to come to the clinical research, and after that, the digital transformation can happen together. So if you can think of these 4 things, like you've got a 5 pillars and 4 technology, which is ABCD, and 3 outcomes, which is availability, accessibility, and affordability. If you can have them, for the healthcare. Are you ready? So thank you so much for your patient listening. I am here for some more questions. Up to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your wonderful talk. That sir has explained that healthcare and digital transformation are together. What is information and what is transformation? Sir has explained very well about that global technology and transformation trends. Then health tech trends in 2026, that is the AAA also sir has explained. Sir explained that 5 pillars of digital transformation. Then what are all the challenges we have, then how to overcome that also sir has explained. That at last he has finished with that ABCD and that AAA. That even though that AI has developed, that sir has told that AI is the outcome of the technology, but it is the outcome of the technology. Right. So that world also staying, that not even in that crawling period also. So that lot of things we have to develop that one. Any queries you can ask.
Thank you, sir, very much for the insight information regarding the different scenarios happening around the world, especially the China video. I have a small query. A man stands in front of that ATM machine kind of a thing, and it detects the temperature, or by seeing through the eye sensor, whether it detects all the things like a blood pressure or his cardiology level, all these things, or do we need to do the blood test, to find whatever we have currently, that blood test kind of a thing. So many metabolism tests have been taken.
In my knowledge, is actually experimental, and this is mainly for those ailments which doesn't need a lot of clinical tests and then results. Basically, it will have some iris, and then maybe some hand and the pressure, etc., everything. But should that case that you need additional medication and research, you'll have to refer. So these are all only experimental in my opinion. But 2, the only best part of the Chinese experiment is that they already have most of the data with them already. It's all, everything is connected together. So they can refer to your previous health records and try to predict what could be your results later. But it may not be with 100% prediction, 100% result, but yes, it need to be done. So that means this is basically for those medicines, those care, where you don't have to wait an expert opinion or expert research, sir.
So at this stage, so what you are referring is that they are collecting the data about the patients through the machine, so that it will be stored in the repository, so that it will be analyzed. The future stage is for that further detection of the other things like the blood pressure, the sugar test, whatever. Clinical testing.
To answer you, there is a company called Ping An in China. So this is one of the biggest healthcare institution there. Like how we have got Alibaba and WeChat and all those things. This Ping An institution which collects huge amount of medical data because they give insurance services. So all those things are now already put into one common repository, and the same thing is now being used for all these kind of ATM machines, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Any other question? Including how to get golden visa in UAE.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thanks,
Thank you so
audience.
much, sir, for your wonderful talk. Thank you so much.
Sir, your
Thanks for that
presentation
opportunity.
your presentation is truly inspiring and enlightening session, sir. I request the chairperson, Dr. K. Mageshwari, to honor the resource person. Thank you, ma'am. I request our respected organizing chairman, Professor Dr. P. Nyanashekhar, to honor the chairperson, Dr. K. Mageshwari.
For the next session, I would like to call out the names of the dignitaries with the request to join us on the dais. I invite the chairperson, Dr. K. Ramesh, Director, ARP, VMRF DU, Salem. Welcome you, sir. It's honor to welcome the resource person, Dr. Jairaj Kumar, Managing Director, CGN Research Labs Private Limited, Hyderabad. Welcome you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. We are into the last session of the scientific proceedings. I take the privilege and welcoming the next keynote speaker for today, Dr. C. Jairaj Kumar, who has obtained his medical degree from the Kasturba Medical College, Mangalore, affiliated to the Manipal University. A distinguished clinician, a researcher, as well as an innovator, he has been awarded with the Phillips Best Inventor Award in the year 2009, the DST Lockheed Martin Gold Medal in the year 2010. He also serves as the Editor-in-Chief for the Scientific Medicine, an international peer-reviewed medical journal, and he holds associate editor roles with reputed international journals, including the Australasian Medical Journal and Cases Journal from the UK. He is also a referee and reviewer for a dozen international and medical journals. Dr. Kumar has authored more than 50 international research publications, and he has over 13 patents to his credit. He is a visiting faculty member at the Jawaharlal Nehru Center for Advanced Scientific Research, Bengaluru, and actively collaborates with leading institutions such as IIT Hyderabad, NRSA ISRO Hyderabad, LMU Munich, and the University of Missouri. Today, he will be delivering the keynote session on advances and innovations in medical thermography imaging. I welcome you, sir, for your presentation. Thank you.
Very good afternoon. So, thanks to Dr. Ganesan for inviting me here. And just wanted to give a brief overview about our company. So, can we get the slides on? So, we have a company called CGN Research Labs Private Limited, where we have been able to translate the research from bench to bedside. So, it's a university innovation in Manipal, which we have patented it and which we have launched it in the market, and we have now gone into 11 countries now. So before I go ahead and explain things, I think there are quite a lot of engineers out here. So just wanted to make a sync with what a doctor's perspective is going to be like. See, you have a computer. Computer has got a hardware and it has got a software. So similarly, human body has a hardware, what we call as anatomy. And we have a software, what we call as physiology. And current imaging systems like CT scan, MRI, ultrasound, X-ray, all these are anatomical imaging modalities. That means we make a diagnosis basis any change in the size, shape, texture or configuration, then we make a diagnosis. And we have some physiological methods. In these physiological methods, we only have parameters. Like we check BP, we check heart rate, we check ECG. Physiological changes precedes an anatomical change. If you are able to pick something at the physiological level, then we can make a diagnosis very quickly. So the issue here is there an option for us to do physiological imaging? So, and now the topic of today's presentation as a whole is innovations in healthcare. I am now going to talk about a field which is not properly validated completely, but it has a huge research potential because you can open out the doors in every corner. So if any one of you are seriously interested, we have an active collaboration going on. Some of you can pick it up as your MTech thesis or your PhD thesis, and we can work together because we have a very, very active dynamic team. I'm going to talk about a product that we have actually developed, and then I'm also going to talk about a product that we are developing, and then I'm also going to throw some insights into things that you can think of, right? So first let me talk about what this imaging is. So what happens in thermal imaging is, it absorbs heat emitted from the human body and it converts to an image. So this thermal imaging has been there for quite some time, and the only issue is there is no proper documentation of things. So how is that our technology different? See, for instance, there are three kinds of substances. We have conductors, we have semiconductors, and we have non-conductors. Conductors absorb heat, and also conductors transmit heat. For something to be, now what happens if it conducts? Let's assume you have a filter paper and you have put a fountain pen on a filter paper, the ink spreads, which means to say you cannot see anything what you have written on a filter paper clearly because the ink spreads. So if we use a metal as a sensor, it absorbs the heat and thereby the heat spreads, so you cannot see an image gets blinded. So we were unable to use sensors. So we cannot use a non-conductor because it cannot absorb heat. So the only option was to use a semiconductor. So semiconductor absorbs heat, but it doesn't have an inherent ability to absorb heat. So we used to have something called a cooled core. We have to cool down a sensor to minus 20 degrees centigrade. So thereby we create a gradient so it can absorb heat. And it's a semiconductor, it cannot transmit the heat. So that's the reason we were able to get a fine image. But this cooled core, cooling everything at minus 20 degrees centigrade is cumbersome. So what we have done, we have come out with a new focal plane array. In this new focal plane array, we have kept nanocarbon grid. And in the center, we started keeping silver nanoparticles. Silver nanoparticles absorb heat, but they cannot spread it because it is surrounded by a carbon grid. So this is how we were able to bring a metal which can only absorb but cannot conduct. So this is a breakthrough what we have done now. So with this, we were able to open a multiple applications. See, basically thermal imaging camera is a camera. Now how am I going to bring this into multiple applications is something that's very, very interesting. We use camera in medicine for laparoscopy, for bronchoscopy, for colonoscopy, for arthroscopy. So any camera innovation that we have done, it has a gamut of applications in medicine. But how exactly you are going to use this is something that's going to be very critical. And now I am directly going to come to the topic. Here we don't have an interventional imaging right now. We are in the process of developing our own laparoscopic thermal imaging cameras. We are in the process of developing our own endoscopic thermal imaging cameras right now. This is something which we have a diagnostic image, and I'm going to tell you how we are going to use this in medicine. And this is how. So you all would have heard about diabetes. Diabetes is a disease where there is elevated blood glucose level. What happens when blood glucose level goes up? So we are in Chennai now, we are in Tamil Nadu. If you go across Chennai, everything you find, iron, everything gets rusted because of a lot of moisture in the air. When your blood glucose level goes up, it damages your blood vessels. This is technically what we call as vasculopathy. Every part of our body needs blood supply. If diabetes is a disease that damages blood vessels, since blood supply is needed by every part of your body, it can damage any organ because every organ needs blood supply. So the world's largest cause of diabetic patient admissions is for a foot problem. So one thing I would like to tell, if there is a war between India and Pakistan, it is the border areas which are likely to get affected. When there is any disease that damages or compromises the circulation, it is the areas which are already vascular compromised that get affected first. See, for instance, I take my specs and squeeze. When I squeeze, my fingers or capillaries get blanched. When I stand for hours in a day, the bottom of the foot is not having proper circulation because of the pressure. So that is the reason in diabetes, foot is one of the first things that gets affected because it is in the periphery, and because of the pressure there is a complete compromise of circulation, and it is the first one to get affected. That's the reason the world's largest cause of diabetic patient admissions to a hospital is for a foot problem. And in India we don't have the branch of medicine that deals with foot. It's called as podiatric surgery and podiatric physician. We still don't have that fields here. So this gives us an immense opportunity for research, development, and coming up with new strategies. And now, foot has an anterior half and foot has got a posterior half. Do I have a laser marker or something? Laser marker. Yeah. So foot has got an anterior half and then foot has got a posterior half. Anterior half has got a medial side and it has got a lateral side. In the medial side we have medial plantar artery, lateral side we have lateral plantar artery. This is a calcaneal region. Here we have medial calcaneal artery and lateral calcaneal artery. These are the four blood vessels which supply foot. If the foot is vascular, the entire region appears warm. If there is a compromise in the circulation, that regions will become cold. That's what we intend to image here. So concept number 2, whatever blood that comes from the heart, the blood has to go back to the heart. So going against the gravity in foot is something which is very, very critical. Now let's assume you are getting water from corporation into your home. What happens? You create an underground sump, you put all the corporation water into your sump and then switch on the motor. What happens is the entire blood which comes from the arteries gets accumulated here, and this is your sump, and your calf muscle is your pump. When the calf muscle contracts, the entire thing whichever is stored here gets absorbed inside and it gets sucked up into the posterior tibial vein. Another concept which is very, very important is we something call it as neuropathic AV shunt. In this neuropathic AV shunt, in a normal course of circulation, blood goes from arteriole, goes to capillaries and comes back to venule. Capillary is a functional unit of circulation. If the blood doesn't go to capillaries, there is no gaseous exchange occurring. In the case of diabetic patients, once they develop neuropathy, there is a small shunt which opens between arteriole and venule. Blood directly bypasses from arteriole to venule by not going to capillary. Thereby, though you find macroscopic circulation which is going into the foot, it is actually not going into capillary, so diabetic patients are in a constant state of ischemia. So whenever there is lack of circulation, our blood, when there is no blood supply, tissue dies. When there is a tissue death, we call this as a damage. Whenever there is a damage, our body mounts a response called as inflammation. Inflammation is characterized by 4 cardinal signs: rubor, tumor, dolor and calor. Calor is rise of temperature. So that is a signature that we are using to pick up using our thermal imaging device. So basis this blood supply pattern, the foot has been divided into 16 different types. Here you can see entire thing is in orange color. So here both medial plantar artery and lateral plantar artery intact. In type 3, medial plantar artery is compromised. Type 4, lateral plantar artery is compromised. Type 5, both MP and LP are compromised. You can see here basis the calcaneal blood circulation, foot has been divided into type A to type D. Here you can see both the blood vessels are intact. Medial calcaneal artery compromised, lateral calcaneal artery compromised, both MC and LC are compromised. So this is something, at this stage, patient is completely asymptomatic. He doesn't have any symptoms, he doesn't come to you with anything, and this is more like your cardiac imaging, where you see the blood vascular supply, where you need to put a dye, but this is completely non-invasive. And then second, this is how the imaging looks like. This is a normal foot. You can see a green spot here, medial plantar artery compromised, lateral plantar artery compromised, medial calcaneal artery compromised, lateral calcaneal artery compromised, both medial calcaneal artery and lateral calcaneal artery compromised. So we are able to pick up which part of foot is having a vascular compromise long before it has developed into a complication. So at this particular regions, we do offloading of foot. Once we offload the foot, that particular region gets the blood supply and we can prevent the foot from developing into a foot ulcer. Now, there are several MTech students, several PhD students who have wanted to take this as their area for research. See, when we inhale air, we are breathing in cold air. When we are exhaling air, we are breathing out hot air. So we have sinuses here. So majority of you would have heard about many of you having sinusitis, etc. If sinus is blocked, if you put a steam into your nose and if your sinus is blocked, the steam will not enter into your sinuses. You can pick up the thermal signatures, by putting in the steam and to see whether the sinus is blocked or not. You can also distinguish whether the inhaled air is it going on, so you can study nasal dominance, which nostril is active, which nostril is not active. And second thing, what we are doing here, as you are able to see a vascular compromise here, we are developing a laparoscopic thermal imaging camera. In this laparoscopic thermal imaging camera, let's assume somebody has got a necrotic intestine. When there is an intestinal necrosis, that region will not develop, will not emit any heat. I can identify a dead tissue from a living tissue. So when I identify a dead tissue from a living tissue, using a laparoscopic thing, I can exactly resect to the region of the tissue. We have developed a prototype and our prototype is in animal testing right now for laparoscopic thermal imaging. So this is a very, very rich area, my friends. Only thing is that thermal imaging has few researchers, the data is very less, and you are only trying to image the skin temperature, which is variable to environment, and there is very, very few people have done work. So that's the reason the FDA regulations are very, very stringent to get any kind of an approval in thermal imaging field. So this is an area that, lot of you can do original work, publish, also come up with some kind of a, you need not break the hell and come up with some new thing. Maybe if you can come up with a small thing that, if you can accelerate the ENT practice by identifying a sinusitis blockade nose versus non-blockade nose, maybe you can develop a small aid by which you can directly put steam into the sinus and then see how things can develop. This is technically what we call as biomaterials. So the reason why I wanted to pitch this is, there is an ample amount of opportunity for you, and now you are a 40-year-old institution, and now we have Dr. Professor Gnanasekar kind of people who are supporting you. They are giving you seed money. Take things seriously. Work on developing something into prototype. Who knows, you can also end up somewhere. So I seriously request you guys to not to think research is an extracurricular activity. Put some heart and soul into it. Maybe you can patent something. Who knows, you might end up somewhere. And this is the day, you can create company. And Elon Musk is somebody whom we don't even know, and now he is the world's richest man. So that, we don't know what can happen. So what happens is, whenever there's a cell death, so there is inflammation. We figured out an inflammation here, and we followed up the patient for 6 months. Exactly on that region, he developed a foot ulcer. So this is how we do offloading. So we identify the region, and that particular region we make a offloading hole there, and then we ensure that circulation is there. And then we also use this technology to stage wounds. Wound has got an inflammatory phase, proliferative phase, epithelialization phase, and a remodeling phase. Whenever there is, let's assume there's a fight going on, you will find a lot of police people surrounding. So when there are so many police people surrounding, it indicates that there is something unusual happening. So you can see here on this wound, there is a lot of inflammation around the wound. This inflammation around the wound indicates there is an active damage process which is going on. You can see in this image the green islands in red ocean. Anytime you find green islands in red ocean, they are all dead tissue. Whenever you find a dead tissue, we need to debride it. If you don't debride a dead tissue, it's going to hinder wound healing. So basis this, we can identify in which stage the wound is. Basis staging the wound, if the wound is in an inflammatory phase, then we know that the disease causing etiological factors are still existing, and we need to identify them and then treat the root cause. So this is a patient who is having a non-healing wound ulcer. You can see there was inflammation resolved, and then the inflammation disappeared. This wound has crossed stage 1. This wound has gone past stage 1 inflammatory phase. You can see inside the wound, proliferative phase is not developed. And this wound is not healing because proliferative phase is not developed. So this wound needs an assisted wound healing technologies. So we can identify the staging, and then we can identify what technology we should use to treat this patient. So maybe somebody is very serious, Professor Gnanasekar can connect you with us, and then we can go in depth about things, because time is precious for everybody. Somebody is very serious, we can come up, and we are connected globally with all this, the area of diabetic foot. And my friends, let me tell you one thing. It is not pressure which causes foot ulcers, because, to block a capillary circulation, a 5 mm Hg pressure, it is enough to occlude capillaries. So anything above 5 mm, consistently if it is applied, it can cause damage. It is neuropathy which causes foot ulcers. It is not pressure which causes foot ulcers. There has been a hoax going on, people telling that it is pressure which causes foot ulcers, and it's nothing to do with pressure, it is nerve which is actually maintaining the foot live healthy status. And basis this technology, we can identify which thing we can distinguish, and we can also identify the etiology of the pain. If somebody has got a pain, we can identify whether a pain is a musculoskeletal pain or a neurological pain. Neurological pain is something we call as reflex sympathetic dystrophy. So when there is too much of sympathetic activity, we start experiencing pain. Whenever there is a pain, there is severe vasoconstriction, so that region appears cold. So basis this, again we can distinguish whether it is a muscle pain or a skeletal pain. So if it is a neck pain, we can distinguish, this is called a levator scapular neck stiffness. If you do a overnight bus journey, you will end up having a neck pain. So if you don't have a physiological imaging, doctor can tell you have a cervical spondylosis. So we can identify levator scapular neck stiffness, we can identify the trigger point, you actually we can distinguish whether it's skeletal pain or non-skeletal pain, degenerative condition, very little. And then we have inflammatory conditions like this. So this is how the inflammations of a rheumatoid arthritis patients are. And these are all the various awards we have got. And now we are active into all these areas and we are doing cutting edge original work. If somebody is very serious, and we only right now engage at the level of MTechs and PhDs, and if somebody is very serious, they can collaborate with us, you can do some work and see what best can be done. So I think with this overview, I think I would like to pass this session to question and answers, and let me know guys if you have any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Jairaj Kumar. It was a very informative and thought-provoking lecture for our. For any questions? Few questions we can take. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, doctor. I have a simple question. Like you explained about the thermography for the detection of the diseases like enlightening the like a diabetic food care and other areas. I just wanted to know is your research is I mean the lab is limited only for detection or for the treatment also?
Sir, this is a diagnostic device. So right now we are developing two devices. One is diagnostic and the other is interventional. So in the interventional we are developing laparoscopic, bronchoscopic and endoscopic things which are in our pipeline. Right now we have only a diagnostic thing, and we are in the process. Our interventional devices are in R&D stage, and they are at the animal model right now. We are doing the work on rabbits to see how the surgery is and how we can identify dead tissue versus the living tissue, etc. So right now still we are not at the therapeutic level. No.
I have another small question. It is regarding the common leg problem called spur. I think it is a plantar fasciitis.
Plantar fasciitis.
Plantar fasciitis, which I used to have sometime, quite a long time. So, is the thermoscan can be used to detect this kind of diseases also? Like,
Sir, actually, you know, when we are in medical devices, we need to be evidence-based. We should have a lot of data to substantiate any of the findings. So I don't have findings on plantar fasciitis yet, right now. So I was telling Dr. Gnanasekar exactly the same thing. This is a field, you know, where you can raise so many questions. We have technology, and then, you know, we can actually give it, but I don't have data to concretely tell whether you can diagnose. But probably yes, but I don't have the data to prove it.
Because I myself went through that ultrasonic treatment, which I thought like a laser or extending that thing,
Yeah.
thermography kind of, and that's why I wanted to check. Okay.
Nothing, sir. We don't have the data to substantiate, and FDA is very strict when anybody makes a claim and the claim is not evidence-based and you don't have a data backup, you cannot make a claim. But by conviction, diagnosis is possible. I think, you know, this is where all the students can actually join us up and then put up papers and then do original work and conclude it.
Exactly, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, sir.
Hello. My question is, sir, as you have mentioned, there is an infrared radiation which will be used in this thermoscan, right, sir? Is there any particular wavelength, or depending upon the situation, the wavelength will be decided? Can I know regarding that, sir?
See, madam, basically what we are trying to do, we are trying to do a human imaging, right? So basically in infrared, we have a short wave infrared, we have a medium wave infrared, and we have a long wave infrared. Our device primarily absorbs the human range emitting infrared devices. So long range emitting infrared devices are having defense applications. They are useful for a weapon sight, they are useful for submarine detection, etc., We are also working with ISRO in making some satellite prototypes, because the sensor that we have is very unique, because we are the only people who are able to use a conductor nanoparticles for the imaging. So right now we are using the human related, that is mostly mid-wave infrared.
Thank you so much, sir. So, one more question is actually whether the device it is now particular to only diabetic foot, or it is been extended to any diabetic retinopathy who has been a common complication among in that chronic disease.
See, whenever you are talking about thermography, you can only do superficial stuff. You cannot go deep. So there has been thermography applications in breast cancer, which is unsubstantiated yet. So the information to make claim is not clear. So technically you cannot use a thermal imaging device for diabetic retinopathy screening. Because for retinopathy screening, you need to go through the pupil to behind of the retina, so for which you need a conventional camera. So here we have dilation and non-dilation and things like that, but right now we don't have a thermal imaging application there, and maybe I don't know, somebody like you can change what we think. So maybe some innovation, but we have the sensor. If anybody wants to build anything, I can share my sensor with you, and we can co-collaborate and try to develop a new device. Right now there is no data here, and nobody has developed a thermal imaging diabetic retinopathy screening device right now.
Sir, you have also mentioned regarding about the endoscopy regarding the...
Yeah, we are prototyping them. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, there is one more question.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. First of all, I would like to thank you for delivering this interesting topic. I have one question regarding the inflammation type. Depending on the stage of the inflammation, it will be detecting whether it will be detecting early whether it is the risk of getting that disease or not. Am I right, sir?
Yeah.
So, for example, in oral cancer, there is inflammation initially. It will convert into other type of uncontrollable inflammation, which will become a huge tumor, right? In oral potentially malignant lesions, can we use this device to detect risk of getting early cancer?
Madam, definitely you can use it, right? Now, the point is that there are two things that I would like to make a point here. Whenever there is a cancer, it is an unplanned, uncontrollable growth of cells.
Yes.
So there will be, since it is unplanned, so there will be huge cell death, they will be triggering inflammation.
Yes.
Why cancer patients lose weight is because of this inflammation activity which is continuous, which makes them anorexic, so they cannot eat food. So technically you can do this, and oral cancer is also very superficial, and definitely you can pick it up for early stage diagnosis and things like that. Definitely you can do it.
Because
but we have not done anything on oral cancer right now.
Because what my main topic is prevention, sir. I'm from public health dentistry background. I'm from Sibar Institute of Dental Sciences, Guntur. So my topic is, for example, if a patient takes tobacco, he will get cancer. He has the risk of getting cancer.
Correct.
We don't know whether he will get or not. Depending on the type of the individual, depending on the immunity power he can get. So for the patients who are consuming tobacco, if we screen with this thermal imaging or thermoscan, we can prevent the risk of getting cancer by educating the patient, I think.
Yeah, maybe you can do an early diagnosis, probably yes.
Yes.
But again, you need to be on field, do study. I can
Yes,
give
sir.
you devices.
Yes, sir.
And Gnansekar sir is very close. Reach out to us.
So
I
that
can
we
put my
can
team.
collaborate and we can do it.
No, we are open for it. That's exactly the purpose of I coming here is to exactly see how we can do it. Definitely yes.
Okay, sir. And is there any type of devices available devices which works on the principle of thermal imaging?
No,
right now?
there are a couple of devices, but not in medicine right now. They're all having some other applications.
Oh, okay, sir. Means some devices, I don't know which device they used. They have used thermal imaging only for gingivitis and periodontitis. I
Yeah,
don't know
maybe-
what type of device they have used. If at all existing, what are the devices I am asking?
I'm not aware about the dentistry part, madam, but you can do research. We can give you the technology backup for you to do your screening, etc.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then you can write up a proposal to ICMR, or CSIR, DSIR.
Sir, is there any particular wavelength or something? I don't know what are the units we get in this thermal imaging. Is there any units?
It's temperature, madam.
Temperature?
Yeah, you
units.
get the temperature scale with 0.1 to 0.01 degree accuracy.
So, in a normal healthy individual, can we get the accurate?
Yeah.
Is it validated, sir?
Yes.
For normal and deceased?
Yeah. See, if you screen both the chick, if say for instance this chick and this chick, and bilaterally from this chick, if there is a difference here, then maybe you can identify the patient to be a high risk patient with the same guy.
So, in
Comparing
the
with
same individual, we can compare both the
chicks.
Thank
No,
you.
but we need to develop a protocol. We need
Yes, sir.
to.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so
We
much.
should take the IC now, sir.
If you have any questions, you can take these questions after the session also
Okay,
is
sir.
available.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
So we would like to wind up this session. So Dr. Jairaj Kumar, you had a wonderful presentation explaining about the medical thermographic imaging and the various scope, not only in medicine as well as in dentistry and other fields. So it was an excellent presentation. We were privileged to have you at VMRF TU. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Now I request the chairperson, Dr. K. Ramesh, to honor the resource person, Dr. J. Rajkumar, sir. Organizing Chairman, Professor Dr. P. Gnanashekhar, sir, to honor the chairperson, Dr. K. Ramesh, sir. Now I request all the participants to have a tea break for 10 minutes.